Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video in which we are going to be trying out the new Pat McGrath Labs Mothership Star Wars Dark Galaxy palette. This is one of two additions to the Mini Mothership palettes. The other one that she added to her collection is this one, which is the Galactic Gold. I've already done a look with this palette if you're interested in checking it out, but today we're going to focus on the Dark Star. Before we get into the video and how I created this eye look as well as some swatches and my thoughts on the palette, if you're new here, I'm Jody. Thank you for clicking on my video. I hope you're going to like this one. Consider subscribing to my channel and joining my makeup family. Don't forget to hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. My upload schedule has been a little sporadic lately, so the bell is going to be the best way to know when I'm uploading a new video. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and get into it. So I'll briefly go into some of the details with the palettes and show you some swatches. So this is the Mothership Star Wars Dark Galaxy palette. As I mentioned, it came out with this Galactic Gold palette, and I bought mine as a duo for $115 on the Pat McGrath website, although I did have a 10% discount, which helped me a little bit with the taxes. The eyeshadow palette has 6 shades. It has a 12-month shelf life, and you do have 12 grams of product. So roughly you have about 2 grams per shade, and that's what your shades look like. Such a beautiful, beautiful color story. Now, contrary to the other palette, this one does include a matte shadow, which is that one right there. As far as the packaging, you do have a beautiful mirror on the inside. And like I mentioned in my other video, this is different from the other Mothership palettes where you have a single flap closure rather than the trifold with a little band envelope looking thing, which I actually kind of prefer because this stacks a little nicer and stores a little better. It still feels luxurious and you're definitely getting that Pat McGrath quality. For the most part, this is going to be a first impressions video. I used every shade in my eye look with the exception of that center shade, which is called Odyssey. As usual, the palette does come with this plastic insert that has the shade names, so you want to hold on to that if you're interested in keeping the shade names. Let's go ahead and take a look at some swatches. You do have 1 matte shadow and 5 shimmer shades. Some are metallic and others are a little bit more of topper shades. From my initial use of the palette, I have to say that my 2 favorite shades are going to be that matte shadow. That one is called Venomous Void, and I just love the way that shadow blends. Purples are traditionally difficult to make, and this one is spectacular. You're gonna see in my demo how I put it down and it was very, very intense, and I went back to it and I was able to blend it out beautifully such that it looked like I was wearing multiple tones on my eye rather than just a single shadow. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful shade, and I really like this reddish tone, which is Saturnalia. Star Wars fans, feel free to correct me. I have no idea how to pronounce that other than knowing it has something to do with the planet Saturn. I love it because it's a reddish and it's a warm, like coppery kind of red. It's the color that you're seeing most prominent on my lid right now. I love it. I applied the shade completely dry, and I used a brush as well, so I can only imagine how it's going to intensify if you apply it with a damp brush or on top of a sticky base. I didn't do any of those little assists when I'm demoing the palette for you so that you can get a good idea of how the shades perform. But so far, I have to say those 2 are my absolute favorites. I do like the selection of the matte. It's going to pair really well with the other shades in the Galactic Gold palette as well. And looking at this palette, even though this is the look that I created today using a lot of the shades, I can definitely see other options. Like those 2 together would be absolutely beautiful. I use that shade to deepen out my outer V, and it blends out beautifully despite the fact that it does have some shimmer in it. Once you start blending it, the shimmer falls away and it performs more like a matte shadow, but you can build it up and see the shimmer as well. So even those 2 would make a fantastic look. These 2 would make a beautiful look as well. It's just, there's many options for this palette and I can definitely see it. If I had to pick a favorite between the 2, that's gonna be hard. Here's the 2 palettes side by side, and if I had to pick a favorite, I would honestly go with the Dark Star. I think it's a little bit more cohesive, and this one has a lot more neutral tones. Like I would say maybe 4 out of the 6 are neutral tones, and then you have those purples. So I think this one would be a little more easily duped, whereas this one has a little bit of a more cohesive color story while still remaining quite versatile in the color selection. So I have to say that right now of the 2, this one is my favorite, but I do think that they are both lovely palettes. I have no idea about a restock. The launch was a little bit crazy. This was supposed to be a Selfridges exclusive, but she did launch it on her site, and that's how I bought it. I don't know if she's gonna restock, but I imagine so, because if you have a license for a property such as this, that's quite a big investment, and you would think you would want to maximize profit on that. So I'm thinking it's gonna restock eventually. I mean, after all, the Decadence palette did come back. It took a while, but it did come back. So that gives us hope. If you didn't get a hold of them the first time and you're interested in them, then maybe you can get a hold of them on a potential restock later on. Let's go ahead and switch off to the demo of how I created this eye look. Just so you know, I'm not as chatty in that part because I was doing a brush review as well. And so I was kind of multitasking a little bit. So I wasn't as chatty. If you're bored by that and you want to just skip ahead, feel free and skip to the end of the video where I will share my final thoughts. But let's go ahead and get into the demo. Venomous Void and Mario and Sephora Collection blending brush. I do love the way her mattes blend out. You can go with something super intense like I just did and still work with it. So this is a very soft blending brush. I'm really liking how much I'm able to blow out this eyeshadow. If you look, it looks like I'm actually wearing a lot more colors than I really am, just by placing the larger color intensity right at the outer corner and then blending my way outward. It's blending beautifully. It's a really pretty shade. I really want this look to stay mostly pink, so I'm going in with the shadow brush and the shade Cosmic, and I'm going to apply that all over the lid. Actually, I'm going to stay on the inner corner with that. It actually is a very sheer kind of color, so I think it's more of a transformer shade that you can put on top of a darker shade. I'm going to use the other side of the same brush and this shade Saturnalia. I mentioned in my other video that I'm not really a Star Wars fan, so I'm not sure how to pronounce these names. Feel free to correct me in the comment section. Oh, this is a beautiful shade. It's a very warm pink shade, actually. Very gorgeous metallic. Next, I'm going to use the shade Smoked Amethyst and a detail brush. Now, this shade does have shimmer, but I'm going to use it to deepen out the outer V part of my eye. And that's a very intense shade. It almost looks like a blackened violet, I would say. Now I'm going to go back into the shade Venomous Void and just apply a tiny bit around the edges to diffuse those harsh lines. I'm going to use Venomous Void and a smudger brush to smudge out the lower lash line as well. And we'll give that a good blend as well. And I want to use the shade Bronze Nebula just on the inner corner and along the lower lash line. And lastly, I just want to re-intensify the Cosmic shade so that it isn't completely lost. This one definitely works best when layered. So when I use it again, it's one that I'll definitely use for layering or adding like a little bit of added texture or interest on the center of the lid. This is your completed eye look without any of the finishing touches or lip products. I'm going to take care of that, and I will be back to show you the finished look as well as share my final thoughts on the palette. But I have to say that right now I am really impressed with this shade right here and the way that it applies. It's my favorite shade that I applied to my eyes, and I love the blendability of this more pink shade. This one is Venomous Void. It blends out beautifully. You can do a beautiful look with that eyeshadow alone, and any of the other metallic ones, it would be so pretty. I just wanted to use as many colors as I could on my eyes so that you can get an idea of how these shades perform. Now I will be right back. So this is how I decided to finish the look. Nothing too crazy. I did a little baby wing with Benefit's roller liner. I really like this. This came in one of my Sephora favorite sets, along with a little sample of Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. So that's all I'm wearing on the upper lash line. And then I did finish off the lower waterline with a little bit of Linda Hallberg's Whipple Flash to kind of offset the little bronzy that I have in the inner corner. And today's lip product is something from Bite Beauty. This came out kind of around the summertime. It's Strawberry Frosé. So that's how I finished off the look. I hope you like it. I think it's fun. Maybe it's a little bit more springtime, but honestly, I don't really pay attention to seasons with regard to my makeup application, and I just go with the flow for that specific day, and this is what we came up with. I really like it. I will be right back with my final thoughts on the palette. So that's how I created the eye look. It was actually really easy to create. I created it pretty quickly, and I was working on both eyes at once as well, so I'm really happy with the way the look turned out. I would be perfectly comfortable wearing this look every single day, and I like how it paired with the lip color as well. It makes it a little bit more bold, but you know, with a nice simple gloss, you can tone it down a little as well. In terms of the palette, the eyeshadow quality is beautiful. I was a little bit surprised at how sheer that specific shade was. This one is the shade Cosmic. It's a little bit sheer in my opinion, but it layers beautifully over another shade. It's kind of a transformer shade, and it's a little bit of a duochrome because on the screen it's looking pink, and in person it looks more like a peachy gold. So it's one of those shifting shades, transformer shades, and it's really quite nice. Can't really say much about Odyssey aside from that it swatches beautifully, but still, those two are my favorite shadows. Beautiful Pat McGrath formula. I love her mattes, and her metallics are beautiful. I'm super happy with them as well, and I'm glad I picked them up. That's everything for this video. Just a quick little demo and my overview, first impression thoughts on the palette. Hopefully you did enjoy it, and if so, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'm not sure when you're going to be watching this video, but if it's already the new year, Happy New Year to you. I hope 2020 is going to be amazing for you. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I look forward to seeing you again really soon on my next one. Bye-bye.